Okay, so Meghan Markle, she's at it again. She's whinging. She whinges so much. I'm giving her a new nickname. I'm going to call her Megan Weinstein because she's just whining all the time. Whine, whine, whine. Just doesn't appreciate anything that's happened in her life. She just thinks that men are chauvinist pigs and we don't appreciate her brains and all this sort of thing. So in the latest podcast with Paris Hilton, we got the transcript here, and she talks about Deal or No Deal, how she was objectified, and this is the thing. So while Deal or No Deal wasn't about acting, I was still really grateful as an auditioning actress to have a job that could pay my bills. I had an income, I was part of the union, I had health insurance, it was great. And yet, I also studied international relations in college, and there were times when I was on set, Deal or No Deal, and thinking back in my time working an intern at the US Embassy in Argentina in Buenos Aires, and being in the motorcade as Secretary Treasury at the time, being valued specifically for my brain, blah, blah, blah. So she's whinging about we were given spray tan vouchers each week because of a very cookie cutter idea of what we should look like, blah, blah, blah. What she failed to mention, though, was with her internship, never acknowledged that her uncle, so her uncle was a former diplomat who arranged for an internship at the American Embassy in Argentina. And this is at Quora, they're just saying, well, why doesn't she acknowledge her uncle's contribution here? Because she never does. Same with her dad, never acknowledged that he put her through college. She just wants to portray the image of being like self-made, and she did all herself despite all these obstacles. She made it through, whereas she just relies on men to get anywhere in life. It's pretty obvious, isn't it? So let's have a look here. And I didn't listen to this podcast because I really can't stand her voice for 40 minutes or whatever it takes to get through. She goes, I ended up quitting the show. Like I said, I was thankful for the job, but not for how it made me feel, which was not smart. And by the way, I was surrounded by smart women on that stage with me. And let's dig into this, because there's some people saying that she actually got fired. She didn't leave. She actually got fired from the job because Meghan Markle was removed from Deal or No Deal after being too friendly to host Howie Mandel. So apparently his wife, Terry, got rid of her. Prince Harry's wife claims she was reduced to bimbo on the show. And goes through here. Meghan Markle spoke about her experience on Deal or No Deal, etc., etc. But there were claims that she was removed from the show due to her closeness to the host. All right. Now, this is quite believable, because if anyone remembers, she was on Meghan Markle was on Craig Ferguson one time, and I tell you, this is the most cringe interview you'll ever see in your life. The way she's totally sexualizing herself. She was wearing a dress that looks like she wasn't wearing a bra underneath. She was just, you can see here. Let's click on that one. It's best to watch the whole interview. She's just sort of like falling out of her dress pretty much, acting like a total bimbo. She was saying things like, we've got a bit of a transcript here. Here we go. They're saying it's creepy. They made out that Craig Ferguson was causing it, but no, Meghan was causing it. So here we go. Because at one point, see, she's flirting with Craig, going, at one point Meghan jokes that he can pinch her to check that she's real. He obliges and then tries to pinch her again before she swats him away. So bit of a tease there. And then she goes, then he then tells her that she has a strangely hairless body. You're quite a dolphin, aren't you? You're absolutely hair-free. Are you a competitive swimmer? He continues, insinuating she's hair-free all over while she laughs and looks away. But she was playing along. She was absolutely playing along. Then she goes on about how, where are we here? Later she describes visiting her dad, a lighting director. Well, actually, she calls him a DP. And if anyone's watched any adult films, you know what a DP is. there was a double entendre there, and the audience started laughing, and then she sort of looked demure and sort of like, oh, I don't really know what that means, sort of thing, It's like, no, you knew what it meant. And she was saying that it was a very perverse place to be on the Married Children set, a very perverse place for a little girl, like she was, in high school, who went to a Catholic school no less to grow up. I'm there in my school uniform, right? To which Craig replies, oh, yeah, you can watch the full clip here. Well, I'll leave a link because this will get content and ID if I play it. You can make up your own mind what the dynamic was, but I'm saying that she was using her sexuality from the early time. You can see here just what she was wearing there. It's just like she put on the sex kitten outfit, and it totally lines up with the theory that she was dismissed from Deal or No Deal because she was getting too chummy with Howie Mandel. Let's have a look here. So this is quite interesting. He goes, so Meghan Markle is well known to many in the show business. Let's just say the men really liked relaxing with her. An Edison named Glinda from Oz wrote, she is known as a friendly girl who can help you decompress after a hard day. Terry had to remove her from Deal or No Deal after she was getting too friendly with Howie. So Terry is Howie's wife. Who to believe? Do you believe she quit or was pushed? It kind of makes sense, doesn't it? How sounds like she sort of runs through, creates a reputation for herself, and then had to leave. She wanted to create another life in England. Chummed up with Piers Morgan, Liz Cundy, tried to cotton on to Ashley Cole, the footballer. He didn't want anything to do with her, and she cottoned on to Prince Harry, and the rest is history. So it was all planned. I think she sort of was burning bridges in the US and Canada, and had to go to UK to reinvent herself, because that's what narcissists do. They just reinvent themselves all the time. Now, as with Paris Hilton, I was a bit disappointed that Paris was even willing to do this interview with Meghan, given that Paris pretty much made her whole life about playing the bimbo role. And it's just happened before. You've got Marilyn Monroe, who was very intelligent, played the bimbo role. They were quite happy playing it. It was just like, it's just a role. People play roles. Dolly Parton, she famously said, I've just written some notes here, takes a lot of money to look this cheap. She's laughed about it. She knew what she was doing. And Mae West famously said, it's better to be looked over than overlooked. One of the famous lines from Mae West. So I don't know what these feminists are on about. And if every time I read an article on feminism, I'd get my Control F out and do a bit of a search. And I sort of think, Waterfall. I was looking at Waterfall Gully, one of my rides. And I look for OnlyFans, because if you're going to talk about, so nothing found. So she didn't talk about OnlyFans. If you're going to talk about the sexualization of women and how women shouldn't be doing it, why don't they protest about OnlyFans? Because that's basically what women are doing. Is it because they're making a lot of money from it? Is it because they think that they've got the power to create their own destiny on OnlyFans? Now, if you don't want men to objectify women, why not try and take down OnlyFans? To me, it's pretty obvious. It's all about control and power. Let's have a look. There was an interesting article here. So we've got a men's rights activist lobbies for equal pay on OnlyFans. It's a serious issue. I think, I laugh about it, but I guess it is a serious issue, because he's saying here there's so much discussion these days on equal pay, of the so-called pay gap. Sounds super real. Jordan Peterson, he talks about this, and the gender pay gap's got to do with how many hours women work per week, because, they pretty much get lumped with the kids. A lot of the time there's a lot more single mums and single dads, and they end up having to, take the kids to school, pick them up after school, etc. I I'd recorded something. I can't find it. They actually showed in the Bureau of Statistics how many hours per week women work versus men work. And lo and behold, it was pretty much equal to the gender pay gap. So if we worked on a per hourly basis, I don't think there is any real terms any gender pay gap at all. Now, looking at OnlyFans, there's definitely a gender pay gap, and it's in favor of the women. He goes, of the top 10 OnlyFans creators, only 2 are male. Let's zoom this a bit. There we go. Only 2 are male. So no equality there. And of the total $60 million those creators pulled in per month, the men accounted for only $9.59 million. That's a measly 16%. So for every dollar a woman makes in the top 10, a man makes 16 cents. Think about that. Consider that. And you know the pay gap gets even larger outside the top 10. So let's call it for what it is. Women use their sexuality to make money. And it's no coincidence that Meghan is complaining about it now, because being an old walrus, I've seen the pattern. What happens is women are very, very willing to sell themselves when they're young, make lots of money from their sexuality, and then when they start hitting about 40, no coincidence that's when pretty much female fertility just drops off the edge and off the cliff, and then they just start attacking young women and men for they've made money from men, and then they're just complaining about it. It's like, come on, you can't have it both ways. I see the pattern all the time. Women in their 40s basically trying to pull the rug from under the new batch of women that are going to make their money from OnlyFans. So here we go. So this guy goes on to say, women flouting their natural God-given gifts are paid massive sums, while men talking about their feelings or doing carpentry tutorials. See, this is what OnlyFans was meant to be about. It was meant to be about one-on-one tutorials with your fans. Or smoking hams are left with meager scraps, 16% scraps. That is funny. Why aren't testicles appreciated like breasts are? Well, we won't go into that. I think nobody wants to look at testicles. Anyway. Pair of buxom breasts wrapped scantily in lingerie gets millions of views, but a silhouette of my meaty clackers gets unnoticed by everyone except for OnlyFans moderators. All right. That was funny. Where's the support for this issue? But the tongue in cheek there, but the general gist of it is correct, that feminists don't talk about OnlyFans, and there's a reason for that. It's just a power struggle, isn't it, really, at the end of the day? Anything that enables women to get ahead is applauded by the feminists, even if it goes against their core values of saying that men are sexist and we need to eliminate that and just appreciate us for our brains. And so it's a bit hypocritical, I think. What else are we talking about here? I think that's about it, I'd say. That's what I wanted to talk about. We talked about the uncle in Argentina. So yeah, Meghan is whingy. I'm going to call her Weinstein from now on. Meghan Weinstein. Because I think she has about as much popularity as Harvey. So I think Meghan Weinstein might stick. We'll spread it around. Walrus Rider, he came up with the name Meghan Weinstein because she just whines all the time. And it'll please Tom Markle Jr. because he doesn't want people, he's just sick of the Markle name being dragged through the mud. So let's call her Meghan Weinstein. There we go. Spread it around. Don't forget, like, subscribe, share, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.